Alright guys, I got some new tools here. Like I said, I'm tired of risking myself scratching dials, so we got some of these Bergeon hand levers so we can pry off hands without scratching anything. Still gonna use plastic and whatnot. Don't need these anymore. Yep. Alright, so these are gonna take those place, and here we go. Here's the watch from the last episode. Put a new band on it. Real nice. Alright. Enicar. Yeah, well, this thing is pretty beat up, scratched. Got some water damage on the dial. Check it out. It seems to be running, although not very good. Down here you can see some water damage here, there, here, there, here. Okay. I don't know what year this is. I actually do now. It's 1965. They didn't use radium, but just checking to make sure. Don't want to die, you know. Okay, let's use this case back. Get this off here. Let's see what this movement looks like. Oh yeah, very nice. I like that. I like the movements that are this color. Just seems quality to me. So I guess the first thing we're gonna do is get this crown out of here, and it's this little screw right here. You loosen this up, and you can pull the crown out. I like the newer style where you can just press the button and pull the crown out, but it is what it is. All right. So here I got these little plastic things slide under the hands. Well, I don't like it. I don't like these. I'm gonna keep using them. I don't like it. New hand levers, cool. So now this feels way smoother. You can tell a difference immediately by using these. It just gets under the hands better. It doesn't feel like it's dragging. The others, like, you could feel like a resistance. So, yeah, no more scratching dials for me. So I got this metal movement ring. I have to take that out of here. Oh, I'll go ahead and get the crown out too, but yeah. So these two screws on the side hold this movement ring in, and they just allow it to fit into the case properly without like moving around. You know, you don't want your movement slopping around inside your case on your wrist. I'm just gonna pick that up. So here's the, dial feet screws. So these hold the dial to the movement. Just loosen these up, and that way you don't rip the feet off the dial. Yeah, I put some finger cuts on. My fingernails are dirty. Work for a living. Okay. Uh, so, once you get these loose, you can get this dial up off of there. You just be careful. I use these plastic tip tweezers so I don't scratch the dial. I didn't want to waste the new hand levers on scratching the dial with my tweezers. Alright, so let's see. Yep. Okay, that's a dial spacer. I forgot to put that on in the last watch in the video. I did put it on though. It goes on there like a cowboy hat. Okay, so we're just going to take some of these parts off and start inspecting them. I don't show everything. I go through and inspect all these parts under the microscope pretty in depth. This is the cannon pinion coming off here. See, now this is interesting. This minute wheel here has a jeweled post. I've never seen that before, ever. Somebody on one of my pages I'm on said that, there was a race for jewel count, so they just started putting jewels everywhere. And, that makes sense, I guess. Although, the more jewels, the better. Although if that broke, that would be a nightmare. Let's go ahead and get this plate off of here so we can get the minute wheel out. Those holes are for lightweight. No, I'm just kidding. I have no idea what they're for. They're just there. Yeah, there's that jeweled post I was talking about. Okay, setting lever spring coming off now. Actually broke this. It's not in the video. I took it back apart for some reason after the video, and I broke this. So yeah, waiting on a new one of those. Okay, get the spring out. I can use this little plastic piece here so I don't fling across the room or whatever. I'll use some Rodico here just to pick all the rest of these parts up just because it's easier. Alright, we'll go ahead and get the balance out. As you can see, it's running. That's good. So, I made several mistakes in this video. I'll go through them with you as I see them. I didn't break the balance, no. So here we go. We're going to go ahead and use that little hole there to pop this up out of there. You do want to be careful. This spring is called a hairspring for a reason. You could bend it and tweak it very easily, and then the watch isn't going to run great. And I've had to re-manipulate those before, and it's not easy. So here I'm going to let some of this wind out of the watch just because, I should put the crown back in, but I already took all the clutch stuff out, so I'm just going to use a screwdriver here, let some of this wind out. Okay, and I didn't get all of it. Here, see? There. Yeah, just a little bit. Although nothing broke, it was okay, but could have been more careful, let more out. Alright, this is the crown wheel coming out. That was the ratchet wheel before. These are tiny screws, by the way. Next on the list is probably some new tweezers. Alright. Now I thought, it looks like this crown wheel is upside down in there. Let's take a look at this. Well, if I could hold on to it. Okay, so it seems like there's just a groove on each side. Okay, cool. Now this is the click and click spring coming out here. And what that does is allows the barrel to be wound through the ratchet wheel, and the ratchet wheel is held in place by this so it can't unwind forcibly. Yeah, I need to sharpen these tweezers. Okay, so here we go. Plastic here so the spring doesn't fly across the room, and okay, it just flew across the desk. I found it. So we're going to check the barrel arbor here into the barrel bridge. Nice and tight, no issues there. Don't have to repair that. Cool. So the barrel bridge coming off. So far everything looks to be in pretty good shape. Okay. Yeah, now there's a little bit of wear there, but I think it's okay. So we're just going to push on the back side of this arbor, pop the spring out of there, see what we got. Okay, so it's a little dirty. Not the worst I've seen by any means. It's definitely got some buildup in there though. Let's get this arbor out and go ahead and get the spring out. Yep. And I had to put this one back in by hand, so you just do the opposite of what I was doing there. So here I'm checking for in shake, just looking for wear and anything I can see damage wise. Everything looks to be pretty tight. That's good. That's a good sign. So this is the pallet fork bridge. Go ahead and get that out of there. You know, this is the first time I've worked on an Enicar. I really do like it. It's a pretty nice quality movement from what I can tell. Um, so here's the pallet fork, you know, nothing broken, nothing damaged. Cool. Face of the stones look to be undamaged. All the train of wheels seems to move under air freely, so let's go ahead and get this bridge out of here and inspect the jewels and see if we can find any issues. Here, you know, trying to entertain you guys throughout this boring video. Although if you're at this point of the video, you may not be so bored because you like watches. But so yeah, let's check out these jewels. And this is the best thing about this microscope. You know, it's a game changer when it comes to inspecting parts. I can see clearly that these jewels are fine. They actually look pretty clean. I don't know how long ago this watch was serviced. Like I said, it's a 1965. Movement number is I can't remember, but so we're gonna just, you know, inspect all these wheels, and you know, I pull every one of these out and inspect them probably about a minute each on each wheel. I just don't show it because that'd be a very, very long video. Here's the escape wheel coming out, and I noticed something inspecting this one. Now check this out. There's a piece of hair on there, and it's not from my dogs. Okay. This is weird here. This, you know, center wheel going through, which I believe that was the fourth wheel. I don't know. I took this piece off on the center bridge here to inspect it. It reminds me of like a cap jewel, but there's a hole through it. So I guess it's just extra bearing for the center seconds wheel going through the center wheel. I don't know. That is very weird. I do take it apart and show it on video, so all these wheels look great. They're actually pretty clean. You know, the pivots aren't great. This is a setting lever screw. Yeah, I think that's right. Okay. Here's this piece I'm talking about. It reminds me of like a cap jewel, but it's not a cap jewel, and it couldn't be because of, you know, the post goes through the center of it for the seconds hand. Honestly, I don't even think I had to take this apart. I did anyway, but if I was to ever do this again, I won't take this out. I'll just run it through the cleaner as it sits. Okay. I dipped this piece of wood here in some one dip. Just gonna clean up this case because it's grimy. Yeah, green. Don't know what that is. Corrosion? Skin? Somebody's eating too many potato chips and winding their watch. Yeah, definitely too many greasy hands winding this watch. It's almost like they intentionally got their hands dirty and then played with the crown. I don't really know what this is. It's gross. I've not ever seen anything green come out of one of these before. This gasket in here is hard as a rock, so I will be replacing that. Also, I replaced the case back gasket at the same time. And, you know, I put them in my silicone treatment, and I'm gonna just scratch all this gross green stuff out of here, and we're gonna run this stuff through my ultrasonic cleaner in a jewelry compound. And this is after. Here we go. Let's see. All right, no more green, no more grease. Nice and clean. So here I'm gonna do something that I, you know, don't really typically do, and it's just because I want to practice. And what that is the scratches on this case here, on the lugs and around the sides, I'm gonna polish them off. Now, I've polished watches before, definitely taken scratches out of brushed material, but I just wanted to, you know, with this watch, I got it cheap enough that, you know, if I ruin the case, it's cool. But I didn't. Actually, it turned out great. you know, some of the deep scratches are still on there, but this compound did an awesome job on the Dremel. So here's the new O-ring going into the crown. It's not exactly a perfect fit, but I think it'll be good enough because this watch is going to my collection. And, you know, as far as like raining and washing your hands, that's a good enough seal. But I do think that, you know, it wouldn't hold up against like a swimming or something. I did break the glass trying to take it out, so this is repolished glass from another watch I have in my spare parts drawer. You know, cool though. Alright, so here's a compound video. So just to make the video shorter, I went ahead and put the video of me putting the parts through the watch parts washer. Sorry, I don't know why I couldn't figure that part out. Look, there's some of the books I got. I've been reading all these books, trying to, you know, increase my skill level, learn everything I can. But yeah, so while the parts are going through the parts washer, you can watch me putting all the watch parts into the basket for the watch parts washer. And there you can see the Longines from the last video. Keeping great time. Honestly, I'm loving that watch. So all the jewels are very clean after the parts washer. Plate looks good. All the wheels look great. So, yeah, here's a mistake. That is the wrong wheel. That doesn't go there. And that one does. So I figured it out pretty fast, which is awesome. So go ahead and get this wheel in there. Unlike another mistake I make where I didn't figure it out fast and it was too late. So here's this bridge going back on here. So, you know, I didn't take any pictures of this. I usually take pictures. I just kind of like winged it on this watch, and it worked out. You know, I was able to figure out where all the parts went. So increasing skill level, that's awesome. Always like to get better at, you know, my hobby here. But yeah, I'm thinking about getting a chronograph and trying to like learn how to service that. I've had suggestions on which ones are the best to do based on information online about them. So that may be coming to the channel soon. That'll probably be a really, really long video. Yeah, here's some 9010 going in there. Here's the fake cap jewel. Yeah, this thing just, I guess, cool. I guess it's just for the it's like a double bearing for the center wheel and then the other center wheel. Definitely is what it is, but I don't think it had to come apart by any means. Tiny screw. Not the smallest I've ever seen. So I'm thinking about getting another camera too, so I can have multiple angles here where I am putting all these screws in, you just see my hand, you know. Look, that piece of hair is still there after the cleaning machine. Let's go ahead and get that off. Alright. But anyway, so I want to get a camera for a second angle. That way, you know, when I'm putting the screws in, you know, I just have to look at my back of my hand, you know. You'll be able to see me actually putting the screws in. I haven't decided on what camera I want to get. I don't want to spend a lot of money on it, but, you know, probably $500 or under would be awesome. You know, something that records 4K. That way I can get, you know, just make my videos better. I think that my footage is decent from my microscope and my phone. You know, my audio and my commentary probably needs work. Yeah, are you not entertained? You know, no. All right. So, you know, they're gonna get these pivots lined up in their holes, and I take back what I said. I don't like working on these. This part didn't go in there very easily. All right, so got it lined up. You know, cool. So here's the second center wheel going in, which, you know, I could get my book out and look and see what the name of it is, but we'll go with second center wheel. So here's the bridge. And I like to line these up on these posts where so you got the screw holes and then you got the posts. That's been the easiest way for me to try and line these pivots up. Some of these bridges will just fall in. This one doesn't. It's like take a spare oiler, one that I don't use for oiling, and go in here and kind of just push the pivots around until I can line them up. Another great use for the microscope. You can see what you're doing, which is awesome. So that one is going in. Yeah, I'm having an issue there. Yeah, so I see I scratched that bridge, but honestly, I think it might just be whatever's on, because I use this for like a UV glue or something, and I think it might be that. But the scratches, you can't really see them without being under the microscope, so I gotta be more careful about that, that's for sure. So I'm gonna use this plastic stick to hold pressure on this bridge, just because if you don't, the pivots will pop back out while you're trying to screw these in, and then you'll break all of them. Yeah, you don't want to do that. But you just hold a little bit of pressure on there while you put these screws in. The pivots won't pop back up, and then you can get the screws tight. And make sure you check that they still rotate before you tighten them all the way down. I like to start them and then check that they rotate, and then tighten them back all the way, and then check they rotate again before putting the pallet fork in. Speaking of pallet fork, we're going to put too much oil on here and then struggle for 25 minutes to get this lined up into the pivot. Don't worry, it's not 25 minutes of video of me struggling. It looks like to you I just dropped it right into place, but no, I could not get this thing in there to save my life. Yeah, so this is after I actually got it dropped in, and I'm putting the bridge on. Yeah, let me get a little bit closer with the microscope. I could see what's going on. Okay. So here you can see me just manipulating it a little bit. So there it's lined up, checking. Yeah. Okay, I think we're good. Let's go ahead and put the screw in. So like I said, hold some pressure on there with this plastic piece, drop the screw in. Just making sure I'm still aligned after I put some pressure on it. Alright, yeah, and it's good, so we're going to go ahead and screw that in tight, check it again. Here is just some oil, so when the mainspring's going inside of this barrel, it doesn't just wear it out. I think it was HP 1300. No, that is not 1300. That is hold on a second. 8200, sorry. Yeah, that's 8200. So 8200 goes on both sides, cap and barrel, and then around the sides of where the barrel arbor rides inside of the barrel. Once you get that on there, you want to make sure it's flat. If it's not flat, you will lose amplitude. Put the barrel in upside down. Okay. At least the spring's in there, right? So drop this bridge back on. And almost. Eventually. Okay, it's on there. Now, I don't worry so much about holding this one in place when I put the screws in, just because it's got one like the arbor goes in there, and if that pops out, I can just pop it right back in. No problem at all. This is 1300 here, going around where the bridge and the arbor rub on, and the click. This is the click spring going in. Put this useless piece of plastic here. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and look and make sure I got this click aligned correctly. So that little tab in the back is what presses against the spring, and then, you know, while you tighten this, it rotates the click. So, you know, hold the click in place while you tighten this. This is just a little bit more 1300 on the screw, where the screw head meets the click, just because, you know, they probably didn't need to do that. But so here's the ratchet wheel, and it's got a square hole that lines up with a square pivot on the arbor, and that is what allows it to hold the spring. Go ahead and get the screw in. And the screw goes into the arbor and holds the ratchet wheel tight against the arbor. And as you tighten this, it'll just spin, so you got to hold something against it to actually get some tension into that screw. I put a little bit of wind in the watch just to see if the pallet fork is flicking back and forth. Also want to spread some of that oil across the escapement. Yeah, and that looks good. So here's the crown wheel. And what I'm going to do is lubricate both sides of this groove, because it rides on the plate there, and then it also slides under the cap here. So I'm going to put some more here, and that's 1300 as well. And then here's the cap. So we'll just line that up and drop the screws in. One thing I can say about this movement is all the screws line up properly and they're easy to put in. Some of the pivots were a pain, and maybe if they were polished, actually I think I was talking about that earlier. Some of the pivots in this watch could have been polished. They weren't horrible, but I need to get that tool. I've been thinking about buying a lathe, but you know, they're expensive. So this is that Jayco tool. But you know, sometimes you need to polish pivots. This watch ended up with a pretty good amplitude at the end, so you know, it was cool. I didn't have to do it, but sometimes tapping the side of the movement holder there will like jumpstart the balance. I give it a little bit of air just to try to line up the pivots a little bit. These pivots on this balance, okay, so the balance and pallet fork were dipped into one dip and set out to dry. And other than that, there is no cleaning done to the cap jewel and setting jewel. So that's kind of why it doesn't want to run right away. We'll take those out and dip those into one dip as well. Here I'm putting some more wind into the watch, and that allows the balance to kick up. You know, we got decent amplitude, but we can get it better. Here's some 90-10 going onto the other side of where the train of wheels is. Too much there, and too much here, and, you know, hair on the Rodico. Clean it up. Sometimes I don't show all my lubrication, but I do put a light coat on a lot of things, like the cannon pinion and the hour wheel. So I'm just going to use this oiler here to try and get this spring out. Those are very easy to break, and then I'll just dump the movement upside down and drop the jewel setting out. And this is after the one dip bath and some cleaning. That stuff, I just let it dry on a piece of paper, and once it's dry, you want to put just a nice little drop right in the center of this cap jewel of 90-10. I got this one a little bit too far off to the side, but I believe it's okay. You see the way I put this setting on, you'll see. So I kind of start it from the left side there and try to center that oil in the cap jewel. So I'm going to look at it, and you know, it looks okay. If the watch tends to drop amplitude, I'll just do another service on it. But I think it's going to be okay. That's a pretty finicky job. That's very fling cap jewels across the room. Okay, so I cannot get this spring in there. Wow. Most of the time this is not an issue. Okay. I'm running out of things to talk about. So, if you want me to shut up, just go ahead and tell me. No, I know, but my commentary needs some work. I'm, trying my best to figure it out and learn. A lot of these parts and a lot of these guys doing this, they'll explain to you what all the parts are. But I assume that if you're watching this video, you probably know what the parts are. I can explain some of them. I try to think about maybe like talking about the history of the watch or just technical description, or just like, I feel like technical description just makes it boring. So you kind of need a history of the watch too, but kind of make jokes or whatever. But okay, so here's the minute wheel going back on, and I'm looking here for the taper on this setting wheel, and it's very light. It's a very not obvious taper. I did end up seeing it, so we're gonna drop it down in there. And oh, what is that? Okay. So the setting lever screw has to go on before the train of wheel bridge. Okay, so got that all apart. I'm gonna set this back down there. Man, that sucks, but it's all part of learning. So take that out. Okay, so here it is back together with that screw back in. So here's the clutch wheel and setting. Let me get my book out. I always just forget the names. Winding pinion. Why can I not remember that? I just looked. Okay, so this is the clutch wheel and the winding pinion. I know the names. I just blank whenever I'm trying to record audio. It's a struggle, I'm telling you, trying to think about what you're going to say and think about the parts and do it all, being recorded, and you really just kind of mess it up. Oh, by the way, I'm going to go back through this video and try to make my audio consistent volume levels, but I keep leaning forward and backwards and, talking louder or quieter. So if you have to turn the volume up and down on your TV or computer, I'm sorry about that. So this is 9501, the blue grease going on there. That's like high friction, low movement areas where you want to put that. Here's the setting lever going back on. And once you get this down in here, I like to put some Rodico to hold it into place and then flip it over and tighten the screw. That's what I did. I didn't show it on camera. Here's some more blue grease going on to the friction points. 9501 Mobius. In one of the books I've been reading, they only want you to put that as a light film on high friction points. So sometimes your intuition tells you should put that in places where it doesn't necessarily need to go. Oh, touch the movement without a finger caught. That's not cool. Yeah, this spring's pretty stiff. All right. Got it in there. No, just kidding. There we go. That should be good to go now. Just put a light film of grease right here where that spring rubs on that arm. And then here's the setting lever spring. The part that I'm holding it right where the tweezers are at, I actually broke that, like, in that spot. I don't even know why I was taking it back apart. Probably just looking to make sure I greased something, and I broke it. I really wasn't prying on it that hard at all. I was just trying to push it out of the way. So, for now, it doesn't make much of a difference on anything that the watch does. It's still difficult, difficult. Still kind of difficult to pull the crown out, but it just pops back in really easily. And I would imagine that it holds the crown in against, like, sealing water, but honestly, the crown's stiff enough to pull out now that I don't think it would make much of a difference. Also, this isn't going to be around water, so if I ever decide to sell this watch, I will replace that. But as of now, it's going to stay in my collection, and I'm not going to change it. I'm just going to leave it the way it is because I can't find it. I did find a list of other movements that are similar to this that, you can get spare parts for, but even those I couldn't find, so here we are, lining up this cover. It's not, it would be a bridge. It just kind of holds this wheel in, so. Drop these screws down in there. This watch is coming together pretty nicely. As you can see, the balance through that hole on the side, it's still running pretty good. It's got quite a bit of amplitude. I'll put it on the time grapher here in a little bit and see what it's actually doing. That top screw popped back out on me while I was trying to tighten this bottom screw, and my pinky has a cot on it, so I'm not touching the movement while I'm putting the screws in, even though the rest of my fingers don't have cots. The problem is the cots I bought are too small for the fingers that I have, so I'm gonna have to buy larger cots, because after about 10 minutes the cots start to cut my circulation off, make my fingers numb, and then I don't have dexterity, and then I start dropping parts everywhere. Here's the cannon pinion going back on. Example of me not showing lubrication. I actually lubricated that shaft where it's sliding down. So the cannon pinion was lubricated on the inside and the outside, and then the hour wheel where it rides on the cannon pinion was lubricated. And then, yeah, so here I am using my plastic tip tweezers to put the dial back on. No scratches. Finger caught. Okay, so I didn't show tightening the dial screws, but I did do that. They're tight. They're tight. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and set this, get this hair out of here. I don't want that getting picked up by the balance. So the hour hand, yep, not rubbing on anything, cool. Line it up exactly on any hour marker you want because there's no date function. So any hour marker I want, and then line up this minute hand with the 12. Pop it on there. Once you get the minutes hand on there, you want to check and make sure that, for one, it lines up with the 12 every time the hour hand is exactly on an hour. And then also, you want to make sure that the minute hand is not rubbing on the hour's hand. That looks good. These hands are pretty high quality. It's another positive for Enicar. High quality hands. They sit on there really well. Same thing with the seconds hand. You just want to make sure it's not rubbing on the minutes hand. And then as long as that's good, it's good. So here's the time set. It was pretty late or early depending on what you want. That's AM. Okay, here we go, getting this movement ring back in there. Alright, so we are running. The movement ring's in, the crown's in, the case is polished. I reused the bracelet from the Longines because it is got a new bracelet on it. It has a new bracelet on it. Okay, so we're gonna regulate this, and that slight pause there was because when I was doing the voiceover on this video, my overlay for my time grapher wasn't on here, so I had to go find it. And it was like, at the end of the video somewhere because I had cut sections out during this audio. But as you can see, here we are running really fast. It did end up giving me an amplitude reading, but I didn't show that until the very end. I was just trying to, uh, get the readings for seconds and beat error. So I'm adjusting the hairspring and the roller table. So here we go. This is the final setting here, and we end up with 260 plus degrees of amplitude, 0.1 second millisecond beat error, and 2 seconds a day fast. That's great. That's awesome. It's running great. I've been wearing it for a couple days. This video, it takes about a week to make. After actually servicing the watch, it takes like a week to do the editing for the video too, and my videos aren't even that complicated, so I can only understand how much other people have. But so it's running great. I have the watch on right now, and I'm really happy with it. It keeps perfect time, excellent time. It's been running for days on one wind. There you can see the Longines that I have. I like this band on this watch better. The water damage dial doesn't really affect it. I like it still. The polishing on the case turned out great. So if you like this video, cool. Stick around for the next one.